So I get books. I like books. Books just come to me, and I read a lot. This one just came in the mail a week or so ago by Garrett Sutton, Esquire, and Jerry Detweiler. If you look back on my blog listing, you'll notice I interviewed Jerry, financial expert. The book is called Finance Your Own Business, Get on the Financing Fast Track. I haven't read any of it, but it looks kind of cool. It's interesting because I didn't ask for it. It just kind of showed up. Another one I didn't ask for, I was visiting a client a couple days ago in Portland, just up the road, and while I was waiting in sort of their lobby, there was a book there called Traction, Gabriel Weinberg and Justin Mayer's How Any Startup Can Achieve Explosive Customer Growth. And I started looking through that, and I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. They had a chapter on trade shows. And I made a comment. I said, this is kind of cool. He said, take it. It just arrived. You can have it. That's fine. Okay, great. Brendan Burchard, I got his email, and he offered his new book called High Performance Habits. Just pay the postage. Kind of a neat marketing tool. How extraordinary people became that way. Again, I just got this yesterday. I haven't had a chance to crack it. I was going through some other stuff, and wanting to do some networking things and kind of get a better handle on that, because I'm not a good natural networker. Most of us aren't. This is called Build Your Dream Network by J. Kelly Hoey, Forging Powerful Relationships in a Hyper-Connected World. So books, I got books. I've written a couple. I may have mentioned them on this program. Trade Show Success, 14 Proven Steps to Take Your Trade Show Marketing to the Next Level. Trade Show Superheroes and Exhibiting Zombies, 66 Lists for Making the Most of Your Trade Show Marketing. We'll get into that just in a little bit. So these are both available on Amazon. So books. Hey, it's Tim Patterson, Trade Show Guy, and this is the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee for October 15th, 2018. October 15th is when estimated taxes are due. I know, bummer. I had to bring that up, didn't I? But you kind of, as a self-employed business person owning your own company, you kind of look to those estimated tax quarterly payments to try and figure out how to make all that work. Okay, how much do I have to send them? And then you call your tax person and say, really? Okay. I had that good of a year, huh? I have to send them that much? Okay. Anyway, I have a fun interview to share with you today. I ran across Chris Reimer several years ago, and I wasn't sure exactly where, so we talked about it kind of in the green room, and he had a T-shirt company going and promoted T-shirts online. We're talking 2007, 2008, and I think that's where I ran across you. And so I've seen your name, and you've done other stuff. You did a book like 3 or 4 years ago called Happywork. And recently he just released this really cool thing called a Boosa Tech Power Pack phone charger, probably one of the coolest tech items I've run across in a long time. It works really well. I figured, I should reach out to Chris and, it'd be worth getting to the bottom of some of these things and talk to him. So Chris obliged with an interview that went in a lot of different directions. I think you'll enjoy this. I want to welcome Chris Reimer to Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. Chris, it's a pleasure to have you on board this morning. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and darn, I forgot my coffee.
Oh no! Well, I've got plenty, so we're good, I think.
I'll have a water.
I ran across you years ago. I've known your name for years, and it took me a while to figure out it was your T-shirt company. You did a lot of social media and stuff like that, and but you've also had a book out, which I think is a year, maybe 2 years old, something like that, called Happywork, which I thought was interesting. And then you've got a new tech tool, a tech goodie. Let's talk about that. So. Let's go back just a little bit to the T-shirt company. What prompted that? I'm curious.
So back in 2007, I was
ancient days when social media was.
Dude, that was a long time ago. If you think about it. Anyway, yeah, in like internet years, that was like 70 years ago. But
exactly.
In 2007, I was working at a nonprofit in St. Louis as their chief financial officer. So in my previous career, I was a CPA, and gotcha. I was 1 year into my 4-year term as the CFO of this nonprofit. That was my last accounting job that I ever had before I switched to be in marketing. So I've had an interesting circuitous career, I suppose, filled with lots of different things. But so 1 year in, I'm still happy at the place. I'm not thinking I don't want to be an accountant anymore. I really had never used social media at that point, so I wasn't an early adopter. Twitter starting in whatever, 06, Facebook around that time, if not a few years earlier. I was not on either of those. Probably had a LinkedIn, but that was about it.
Right.
My birthday was approaching. My birthday was actually yesterday. So
Yes. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. So my birthday was approaching, and I had been surfing the internet, and I had been presented some banner ads for Busted Tees and Snorg Tees, which were two of the bigger t-shirt companies, which I think are both still around and doing really well.
Yep.
And just gave me, I kind of wanted some of them for my birthday. And so we were at, a relatively stressful time in our life. We had a newborn, our second child. I'm not really easy to give gifts to. I just told my wife, I said, hey, would you mind, are you cool if I buy some of these shirts, for myself for my birthday? It could be the present that you give me. And she's like, of course, please, and so I jumped on there and I had.
Make it easy.
It was easy. And, I had 4 shirts, come. And it was interesting. Like when they arrived, the light bulb kind of went off above my head. And I thought, this could be a really interesting business. And, e-commerce obviously was still taking off at that point. We were definitely past the point where people question whether it was safe to buy things off the internet. I think we were past that at that point. But we were not at the point where it was really easy to build e-commerce websites like it is today via like a Shopify or Squarespace. So we were kind of in this middle zone where I really had to take some money and throw it behind the building of a website.
Right.
It is so much easier to do it today. But so when I did it then, that was it. The light bulb went off. I said, I can do this. And, so for approximately 12 months, I worked on designing 32 t-shirts and getting them all printed. So we're not doing print on demand there. We're doing inventory them in Chris's basement. Right. And, the site debuted on November 5th, I think it was 5th, 2008. And no, it was actually Halloween. It was October 31st. I started on Twitter 6 days later out of desperation, thinking I'd start making some friends and selling them. But that's how I got the idea.
Interesting. And you wrote a book. Tell me about Happywork. That came out, just a couple of years ago? And what prompted that? It's the old Larry King question. Why'd you write the book?
It's my favorite question, actually. So I can plug the super gigantic version of it that I have behind me. I have little use for that poster anymore, except for interviews like this. So I wrote the book really because of lessons I had learned from my mom from a very early age. So I think that's where it all started. So my mom worked for the U.S. government. She worked for the Army. And, she did not have a college education. We just talked about it last night at dinner. She is one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. I mean, it's book smart, street smart. You want her for trivia night. She's so good. But she didn't. They grew up poor, and they just had no, college was not a path that she could take at all. But she'd come home, and me and my brother, who's 5 years my junior, she was so good at not complaining about her job and not letting us know that she didn't enjoy it and that there were really bad people there and that it just wasn't a good situation. Working for the government, no offense to your listeners who might do so, but it left something to be desired, I guess. So, even though she was really good at kind of reserving those feelings and just kind of letting us grow up as kids, not be burdened with life's difficulties, we caught wind still that she didn't like it. And so we did what all kids do. We started asking all of our why questions.
Right. Why?
Kids are beautiful in that they are the most curious among us. And sometimes, to me, it's a shame that we as adults don't, continue to ask why questions.
Why don't we have that curiosity?
I talk about in the book is like, you should be needling the people who work for you. You should be needling the people you work for. As a team, we should be working together, asking how can we make this better? In what ways can we improve? Why aren't we trying this? Anyway, so when we asked my mom, our mom, I should say, why she didn't like her job or why she didn't just leave it, we were really not happy with her answers. I wasn't anyway. She said, well, this is just, this is what parents do. This is my job. And we didn't understand that she lacked mobility, or that she was working towards, a pension or whatever. It was like being a CPA and having been really good at math, I liken it to, an unsolved equation It just was left in my head. I didn't understand why my mommy could not be happy at work. And it left me questioning things, even in my subconscious, for a long time. And when I joined the working world, I experienced what many people experience: good jobs, bad jobs,
sure,
supportive bosses, you know what bosses,
jerks.
and, yeah, jerks. You know, but at the same time, I'll tell anyone who will listen, I've never experienced, you know, the things that some people do, sexual harassment on the job, and everything that goes downhill from there. I've never experienced those things, but my experiences were certainly relative to me. And when I had bosses who were unsupportive, or, you know, and crazy things happened at various jobs, which made their way into the book with some names changed.
Right.
Those experiences just spoke to me. And so I wrote the book because I wanted to tell a story of the worst company in the world you could possibly imagine working for. And as it's a piece of fiction, I'm trying to put you in the center of it so that you can feel that and understand that even the best people, and Simon Sinek talks about this in various speeches he's given, you can take the best people and put them in horrible situations, and they will devolve into basically a puddle of goo.
Yeah.
And you can also take the worst people and you can put them into good situations, and they'll pick up their game and they'll improve.
Yeah.
Not always. Sometimes
I believe you. Yeah.
But it's, so it really can be, you know, if we're talking about the movie Trading Places, it really is a matter of environment, you know, that's person's going to win the $1 bet, you know, from Trading Places, because you can put people in a good environment and they should thrive.
Yeah.
And so I've always enjoyed finding places such as where I'm at now, Maryville, where we just thrive for a living here, and we all pick each other up. And other jobs I've had, it was literally like a cult that I wasn't a member of. And that's a problem. That's a real problem for.
That's a challenge. Yeah. And that's a lot of that comes from the top down too. You know, it's the leadership is where that really comes from in my experience. And I'm sure it's probably similar to you.
No, that's fascinating you say that, because I'm actually preparing a Happywork talk that I have to give next week. And I've been thinking about this because in the book, I purposely don't take sides in the book. I say, this is management's fault. This is workers' fault, or whatever you want to call it. And I have this thing in the back of the book called the Happywork Agreement. It's 46 tenets, you know, basically commitments that employers are making to their employees, but then employees are making ones back to the employers.
Right.
And then they jointly make some commitments. And my feelings on this matter have changed. So the book was published in February of 2015. I finished writing it in February of 2014. So the book's almost, like, as far as me finishing, it's almost on its 5-year anniversary now.
Wow,
and
okay, gotcha.
My feelings have evolved on this a little bit. I think that because management kind of holds all the cards, that there probably is 60 to 65% responsibility on their side, if not a little bit more. We do, as managers, we do set the tone. And, you know, it is up to us to, at times, call the shots. It's up to us to use these.
Yeah.
And listen.
Well, I mean, the subtitle is a business parable about the journey to teamwork, profit, and purpose. So it's interesting that you bring all that in there. And it's not a typical business book where you're basically pontificating. You're writing a fiction approach to it, and kind of putting people into the situation. So it's different from that aspect.
I think that's true. At the same time, I will say that, you know, it's possible that the book could have been shortened a little bit, as business parables are usually kind of shortened to the point. And where it could have been shortened, and I've had people tell me this, is in some of the conversations that Charlie, our kind of protagonist in the book, and Sam have. But the reason I left all that in there was on purpose, because I feel like at work, perhaps in our politics, let's just look around, that we probably need to spend more time having conversations with each other and more time talking with people with whom we don't always agree.
Right. I would agree. Yeah. And it's tough, and it's jumping over a barrier that a lot of people aren't willing to do easily. It's almost as if you have to be forced to do it or see the really good reason to do that. And you have to buy into the reason.
Yeah. And exactly. And so what I did with Charlie was our sort of de facto genius in the mailroom guy, was I had him use the power of his words over and over and over to get a character in the book, Sam Maslow, to kind of see the light. And so instead of being a manager and just telling someone, do as I say, not as I do, or, you're fired, I had him work through a series of, unbeknownst to Sam, exercises in a way to get him to kind of change his ways. And
interesting.
So the realism in that is that if we do spend time chatting with each other a little bit more, we're probably going to be a little bit farther along as far as civility at work, but honestly, effectiveness at work. And that's where profit comes from being effective at work.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself, or I do remind myself frequently, that you don't know what this person over there has really gone through in the last day or two or week or what their life is all about. You really don't know. So you can't make assumptions until you talk to them and understand who they are and what their story is. And a lot of people don't take that time to even A, think about that, or B, figure out what that person has gone through to understand what their context is.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, my favorite saying, everyone's fighting a battle about which you know nothing.
You should know nothing,
And that happens here at work. That happened here at work yesterday to me, where there was a situation when I was a little irritated about when I found out what was behind what I perceived to be things, certain kind of misfiring. I realized, that the reason they're misfiring is that we're trying to do 10 hours of work in 5 hours, so to speak, and we're doing our best. We're punching above our weight a little bit in certain areas. And that's why certain things maybe aren't going exactly as I thought they should, but all I had to do is sit down with one of the people who I thought was screwing up, and I found out the real screw. And so,
Well, cool. The book's called Happywork. I want to switch gears and talk about this. On your email list somehow, and you have this piece of technology, and my first thought was, there you go. First of all, there's so many other options out there for this. Just tell me the story. What happened here?
I love your question because indeed there's no shortage of competition.
Right.
And one of my marketing / author heroes, David Meerman Scott, who wrote The New Rules of Marketing PR, which was the first real marketing book I ever read. He purchased a Boosa, a portable phone charger, from me the other day, and I just, it was like a really proud moment for me. And he tweeted about it, and
of course,
somebody, which I really appreciated because it drove traffic to my site. But one guy right after it was some kind of doctor or something. It looked like an influential guy on Twitter. He said, "Hasn't this been done?" That was his tweet, and I was actually kind of pissed about it. I don't deal with negativity very well yet, and so I was like, aren't there other doctors? It wasn't a happy moment. But the truth is, it has been done before. I am not an inventor. But what happened here was, one, I am using these power banks on just a constant basis. I'm at work here, so I've got work phone, I got personal phone, as I'm doing social media constantly for all of my causes. I'm burning these batteries down. I have too much screen time, basically, and I'm burning these batteries down. I can't afford to be down. So it was kind of the same thing with the T-shirts, where once I started using one, I thought to myself, I could do this. But the way to do it for me was to try to throw a little bit of a twist on it. So from an electronics standpoint, one thing I'm trying to do is offer you something that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. So a couple of the things about this first model of Boosa that you have there, and thank you so much for your business.
I love it, by the way.
It fits in your hand really well. It has rounded edges. It has kind of a grip on it via this kind of rubbery outer coating, so it's not going to slip out of your hand. As far as electronics go, I would say it's above average as far as attractiveness goes. It has 2 ports on top. It's also got a USB-C port on top, so it's 3 ports. So you can charge 2 iPhones and an Android in the middle if you want. Lightweight. So it offers and it's all the thing that I like too, always on charging. So when you plug it in, it turns itself on. You don't have to remember to hit the button. These things might all sound kind of inconsequential, but to me, when I was able to put them all together, it made for a power bank that I can be proud to use every day, and I can plug it in. I know my phone's going to charge.
Yeah.
A unique set of features, let's put it that way. So the other thing that I saw kind of missing from my billion-dollar competitors like Anchor and Mophie and Belkin is just a lack of the kind of marketing that I like to do, especially from my seat here as the only employee of the company. It's kind of the grassroots fun, like let's show Boosas out in the wild, So I've got Boosas at the equator in Uganda and one over in Lake Como and one, in Paris twice. And I like showing those things off. There may come a day where we're a billion-dollar company and I'm not worrying about pictures anymore from people's travels. But this is the part of the chase that I really like.
Yeah.
Is creating content that puts you at Lake Como. I want you to go travel, man. If you're not traveling, I want you to go travel.
Yeah.
Travel changes a person. It changes your perspective. It softens you up to the world. It makes you question yourself. It's fun to be uncomfortable. Anthony Bourdain used to talk about Tokyo as being one of the most amazing places in the world because it's like the place where he was most uncomfortable. So, and when you go do those things, if you want to take your Boosa with you, I'd totally appreciate it. So I just didn't see anyone marketing them in such a way. So I wanted to give it a try, and it's been super fun.
Another question I have is the build of this, how it's manufactured, where the design of it, it's unique to me. And so there's got to be a backstory on how that all came together. A story of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, when I decided that this might be something worth trying, I had a lot of different ideas about what I thought I wanted to see in a power bank. And when I started reaching out to manufacturers in China, in the Shenzhen, China is where 99% of the world's batteries are made, and therefore where most power banks or portable phone chargers are made. When I started reaching out to these manufacturers and started receiving samples of what they're able to make, my feelings on what I thought was going to make a great power bank changed. So for instance, I was pretty convinced that in order to be able to tell how much power your power bank has left, that a digital readout was the way to go. Because on your power bank that you have there's a little button on the side with 4 lights.
Yes.
And I thought, well, okay, so if there's 3 lights left, does that mean 75%? Does it mean 70? Let's give people a digital readout. Well, once I received them and I started playing with them, my feelings on it changed. I thought this is actually taking away, in my mind, from the elegance of the product to some degree. And so clearly not having quite as much talent as like a Johnny Ive at Apple or whatever, I was trying to think about the design and how it could like help you without getting in the way. Like something that you wouldn't mind having sit on a table if you were in a meeting. Like it had to be halfway decent looking. I didn't want it to be ugly, I wanted it to be something that like was almost as cool as your phone, and so reaching out to those manufacturers and then testing their products, I found something really interesting. I started using these power banks all day, every day. So I went for months without actually ever plugging my phone into a wall outlet. Like it was completely powered by the power banks.
Interesting.
Because I had to use them to test them, and so what I found was, and then obviously looking on Amazon and, kind of stalking some of my competitors, I found that with a 10,000 milliamp power bank, you should be getting on a standard size iPhone 3+ charges, from 0 to 100 3 times at least. And I noticed that some of the power banks were only giving me like 2 charges. And I thought to myself, I don't think they put the right amount of batteries in this. I think I might have kind of a promotional good or a toy here instead of an actual like well-engineered product. And so I was able to kind of weed those manufacturers out. And I came upon a particular manufacturer who made something that was just rock solid. And it's extremely close to what you have there. I was able to get it customized with regard to color and the rubber outer coating.
Right. Yeah.
But once I landed on one that I was really happy with the quality, I ordered more samples. and tested those as well, just to make sure I wasn't, dealing with flukes or whatever. And ultimately I was pleased. And so that's how that all got started.
So how did you go to market with it? And then we'll wrap it up at that point.
Yeah. So my entire game plan was to sell these exclusively on Amazon. There's two things. And another reason too that I thought this was a great business is that there's two things, in my opinion, that for at least the next 10 years are not going anywhere. And it's mobile and it's Amazon. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I'm going to sell these exclusively on Amazon. Amazon Prime is totally amazing. Everyone's going to be ordering these and 2-day shipping and all that. But then once I had, and I went through like this multi-layered, super fine-tooth comb approval process with Amazon, to the point where, they don't just let anyone ship stuff to their warehouse. You have to be completely and totally approved to do so.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And they want to know exactly what's coming. I mean, like the dimensions, the weight, everything. Ounces of lithium in each battery. I mean, it was really exhaustive. Once my inventory was at their warehouses, it did not go for sale. And I started inquiring as to why it wasn't going for sale. And it turns out that they changed the rules on power banks after my power banks were in their warehouse. And they changed it to a restricted category and refused to grandfather me in. And just a quick funny story, I was talking with someone there who was trying to help. And I was like, I'm really at a loss here. I can't believe you guys are doing this. What should I do next? I mean, do you have any advice at all? And she said, do this and do this and do this. And she said, and email Jeff. And I was like, Jeff who? She said, Jeff Bezos. And I was like, why not? What's his email address?
Yeah, what have I got to lose?
Amazon.com, of course. And I was like, great, I'm going to send Jeff at Amazon.com a sternly worded letter. I'm sure this will work. And it didn't. And so I was forced to do a removal order. I pulled everything out, scrapped my WordPress site, and built a Shopify site myself. And I warehoused them in my office, at home. My site went live, and one day later, Amazon sent me an email and said, this is 30 to 40 days later, our escalation team has finally looked at your case and you are now approved to sell power banks. The day after my site went live. And I'm like, I've left your cuckoo clock. I'm not living in crazy town anymore with you. I'm out.
Interesting.
So I may go back on Amazon, but right now it's, I pack them myself. I write thank you notes to everyone, and I'm having a super good time doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got out of it. So I thought it was really cool. Anyway, so I appreciate your time, Chris. It's been fun to learn about the book and about the power bank and how that all came about. I was just curious when I saw that and that came in. I thought, this is worth a chat. Let's put this on the podcast/video blog. So, Chris, thanks for your time. So, how do we track these things down? What's the best way to do that?
Well, if you're interested in checking out the power bank that Tim was so graciously bought, you can go to boosatech.com. So BOOSATECH.com.
Okay.
If you want to say hey to me, come find me on Twitter at Chris Reimer.
All right. And the book is, it's on Amazon, but is there another website you have for the book? I'm just curious.
The book is very ironically on Amazon. You should definitely buy it. I appreciate Amazon for that. It's on Amazon. When you search Happywork, just put it together as one word. And you'll
one word. Okay. Gotcha. Chris, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining me again. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Chris for joining me on the show, the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. Be sure to check out his book, Happywork, and the Boosa Tech Battery Pack. Some really cool stuff. This week's Trade Show tip of the week comes from the Trade Show Superheroes and Exhibiting Zombies book. It's a list called 7 Ways to Make Sure Your Trade Show Exhibiting Experience Sucks. I think we can learn from bad examples as well as good, and we see a lot of bad examples at trade shows all the time. It's amazing. It happens. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars going to trade shows, and they do things that don't work. Number 1, don't have a plan. Like next time you go to a trade show, try and walk the floor and see if you can figure out which people are actually there with a plan and which are just kind of showed up to do something. They weren't sure what. If they have a fish bowl and are giving away an iPad to some random visitor who tosses a business card into the bowl, you can pretty well bet they don't really have a plan, because all those business cards are not potential clients. They're just people that want stuff. So they're probably not going to buy anything. So Number 2, don't train your booth staff. How to tell if a booth staff is not trained? Well, they're eating a sandwich, they're on their phone, they're sitting there with their arms folded, and they're not looking at people. They're sitting in the back of the booth on the chair talking with another coworker. They don't have a plan. And they don't have a trained booth staff. Number 3, they didn't do any pre-show marketing. If you don't let people know you're at the show, you're leaving much more to chance. I mean, the channels are emails, phone calls, postcards, contacting media, doing PR, social media, all that stuff works. And together, if you do a lot of it, it works much better. Number 4, don't let your staffers know what's going on other than the bare minimum. This is somewhat different than booth staff training, but falls kind of under that same umbrella. Those staffers should understand the reason behind your appearance at the show, the overall show goals, and other pertinent information. It'll make for a more successful experience because they'll have buy-in to why you're doing it, indeed. Number 5, don't have a booth that accurately and fully represents your brand. A lot of exhibitors kind of just pick one. I like that one. Let's do it. But does it really fit their brand? And that's something that you have to get into with a 3D exhibit designer and who understands your brand. Some brands pull this off really well. A lot of brands don't. Number 6, don't have a specific lead generation system in place. Think about it. You have a limited time at the show to capture information from potential clients or customers. How are you going to capture that information? What information are you going to capture? So, number 7, you don't have a good follow-up system in place. So you've gotten that far. You've gotten the booth staff training. You've gotten the lead capture place, the lead generation. You've done the pre-show marketing, whatever. You have a good booth. But if you don't follow up on all of those leads you captured, like most companies really don't, what was the point? That's kind of what I think. So there you go. That's from Trade Show Superheroes and Exhibiting Zombies. I think you'll like it. One good thing. I know the book. One good thing this week is a book that I'm about halfway through. It's by Philip Roth. The guy that wrote Portnoy's Complaint sold a bajillion of those back in, the 60s or 70s, and almost wishes he'd never written that one, but he was he died, I think, earlier this year, one of the great novelists of America, and this is called The Plot Against America, which imagines that in 1940, Charles Lindbergh won the election over FDR, and what might have happened had that actually ensued. So it's a fascinating book. As the New York Times book review says, a terrific political novel, sinister, vivid, dreamlike, creepily plausible. You turn the pages astonished and frightening, told through the eyes of a 12-year-old boy by the name of Philip Roth. It's fiction, but that's what he did with his books. So I think you'll like that. It's interesting. It has a lot of echoes of politics today. Not that I want to get political, but it's a great book. And Philip knows how to write. So that's it, The Plot Against America, Philip Roth. And that's the show, the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. Hope you enjoyed it, and join me again next week here